Hello everyone, welcome back to Achtung History. Today we will talk about the Russian plane Sukhoi 25. To find out what is special about this plane, do not go anywhere and stay until the end of the video. Operational history of Su-25. The first Soviet Air Force's Su-25 unit was the 200th Independent Attack Squadron, initially based at Sukhoi Air Base in the Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic. The first 11 aircraft arrived at Sukhoi in May 1981. On July 19, 1981, the 200th Independent Attack Squadron was reassigned to Shinden Air Base in western Afghanistan, becoming the first Su-25 unit deployed to that country. Its main task was to conduct air strikes against mountain military positions and structures controlled by the Afghan rebels. Another Soviet Su-25 unit was the 368th Attack Aviation Regiment, which was formed on July 12, 1984, at Zhovtnev in Ukraine. It was soon also moved east to conduct operations over Afghanistan. Over the course of the Soviet-Afghan War, Su-25s launched a total of 139 guided missiles of all types against Mujahideen positions. On average, each aircraft performed 360 sorties a year, a total considerably higher than that of any other combat aircraft in Afghanistan. By the end of the war, nearly 50 Su-25s were deployed at Afghan air bases, carrying out a total of 60,000 sorties. Between the first deployment in 1981 and the end of the war in 1989, 21 to 23 aircraft were lost in combat operations, with up to 9 destroyed on the ground while parked. The Su-25 also saw combat during the Iran-Iraq War of 1980-88. The first Su-25s were commissioned by the Iraqi Air Force in 1987 and performed approximately 900 combat sorties towards the end of the war, carrying out the bulk of Iraqi air attack missions. During the most intense combat of the war, Iraqi Su-25s performed up to 15 sorties per day, each. In one recorded incident, an Iraqi Su-25 was shot down by an Iranian Hawk surface-to-air missile, but the pilot managed to eject. This was the only confirmed, successful Iranian shoot-down of an Iraqi Su-25. After the war, Saddam Hussein decorated all of the Iraqi Air Force's Su-25 pilots with the country's highest military decoration. During the Gulf War of 1991, the air superiority of the coalition forces was so great that the majority of Iraqi Su-25s did not even manage to get airborne. On January 25, 1991, 7 Iraqi Air Force Su-25s fled from Iraq and landed in Iran. On the evening of 6 February 1991, 2 U.S. Air Force F-15C Eagle fighters of the 53rd Tactical Fighter Squadron, operating from Al-KHARJ Air Base in Saudi Arabia, intercepted a pair of Iraqi MiG-21s and a pair of Su-25s. All 4 Iraqi aircraft were shot down, with both Su-25s coming down in the desert not far from the Iraqi border with Iran. This was the Iraqi Su-25's only air combat of the war. The Georgian government used Su-25s in 1992-93 against Abkhaz separatists during the First Abkhazian War. A Georgian Air Force Su-25 was shot down over Nizhnaya Shara on July 4, 1993 by a 9K-34 Strela 3 manpads. Another Georgian Su-25 was shot down on July 13, 1993, with a 9K-32 Strela 2 manpads, while another Su-25 was downed by friendly fire by a Zu-23-2 on July 4. The Russian Air Force also lost an Su-25 during war. The aircraft crashed due to a pilot's mistake while providing CAS for Abkhaz forces. Russian Su-25s were employed during the First Chechen War. Together with other Russian Air Force air assets, they achieved air supremacy for Russian forces. On November 29, 1994, attacking all 4 Chechen military bases, Russian Su-25 from the 368th OSHAP destroyed up to 266 Chechen aircraft on the ground, mostly not airworthy. The air forces deployed assets performed around 9,000 air sorties, with around 5,300 being strike sorties during the Chechen campaign between 1994 and 1996. The 4th Russian Air Army had 140 Su-17 milliseconds, Su-24s and Su-25s in the war zone supported by an A-50 AWACS aircraft. The employed munitions were generally unguided S-5, S-8, and S-24 rockets, as well as FAB-250 and FAB-500 bombs, while only 2.3% of the strikes used precision-guided Kh-25mm missiles, KAB-500L and KAB-500KR smart bombs when weather conditions were suitable. Russian forces were not able to properly take advantage of the achieved air supremacy due to obsolete air tactics that focused the Air Force on useless tasks in this type of war such as combat air patrols. The Russian air losses were low since no integrated air defense was fielded by the Chechens. On February 4, 1995, a Russian Su-25 was shot down by Su-23-4 Shilka, anti-aircraft fire over Belgatoy-Gekhi, 5 kilometers southeast of Grozny. The pilot, Major Nikolay Barov, ejected but died impacting the ground as his parachute did not deploy on time. Another Su-25 piloted by Lieutenant Colonel Evgeny Derkolsky was damaged by ground fire on the same day, but managed to land at Mozdok Air Base, where the aircraft was repaired. On May 5, 1995, another Russian Su-25 was down near Surzanyurt by 12.7mm fire while on a low-altitude patrol. The pilot, Colonel Vladimir Sarabev, was killed. On April 4, 1996, another Su-25 fell either to Zu-23-2 fire while either making a reconnaissance flight or attacking the village of Goyskoye. The pilot, Major Alexander Matveyenko, ejected and was recovered by a friendly helicopter returning to the airbase in Kankala, Grozny. On May 5, 1996, a 2-seat Su-25UB was downed with the 9K-34 Strela 3 manpads near the village of Mertup while on reconnaissance. Both pilots, Colonel Igor Zveryarov and Major Oleg Isayev, were killed in the crash. It was the 4th Su-25 shot down and 5th Russian fixed-wing aircraft lost since the start of the war in December 1994. Russian Air Force Su-25s were extensively used during the Second Chechen War, in particular during the first phase when Russian forces were invading the self-proclaimed Chechen Republic of Ishguria. Up to 7 Russian Su-25s were lost, 1 to hostile fire. On 4 October 1999, a Su-25 was shot down by a manpads during a reconnaissance mission over the village of Tolstoy, killing its pilot. The wings of the aircraft were put on a pedestal in the central square in Grozny. Su-25 attack aircraft were used by the Ethiopian Air Force to strike Eritrean targets. On May 15, 2000, an Ethiopian Su-25 was shot down by an Eritrean Air Force MiG-29, killing the pilot. Su-25s were used by the Macedonian Air Force during the conflict against Albanian separatists. Beginning on June 24, 2001, the aircraft made multiple attack runs against separatist positions. The most successful operation took place on August 10, 2001, in the village of Erdusha, when Su-25s attacked Albanian militants who had ambushed and killed 16 Macedonian soldiers over the previous 2 days. Sudan has used Su-25s in attacks on rebel targets and possibly civilians in Darfur. During the Ivorian Civil War, Su-25s were used by government forces to attack rebel targets. On November 6, 2004, at least one Ivorian Sukhoi Su-25 attacked a unit of France's Unicorn peacekeeping forces stationed in Boak at 1300, killing 9 soldiers and a U.S. development worker, and wounding 37 soldiers. Shortly afterwards, the French military retaliated by attacking the air base in Yamoussoukro and destroyed the Ivorian Air Force, heavily damaging the 2 Su-25s responsible for the attack. In August 2008, Su-25s were used by both Georgia and Russia during the 2008 Russia-Georgia War. Su-25s of the Georgian Air Force participated in providing air support for troops during Battle of Tskinvali and launched bombing raids on targets in South Ossetia. Russian military Su-25s struck Georgian forces in South Ossetia and undertook air raids on targets in Georgia. The Russian military officially confirmed the loss of 3 Su-25 aircraft to the Georgian air defense, though the Moscow defense brief suggests 4. The 3 Russian aircraft were reportedly downed by Georgian Bakhmut air defense units. Georgian Su-25s were able to operate at night. In early August 2008, Russian Su-25s attacked the Tbilisi aircraft manufacturing plant, where the Su-25 is produced, dropping bombs on the factory's airfield. On November 1, 2012, 2 Iranian Su-25s fired cannon bursts at a US AFMQ-1 Predator drone, 30 kilometers off the Iranian coast. The Iranian government has claimed that the drone violated its airspace. Ukrainian armed forces deployed aircraft over insurgent eastern regions starting in spring 2014. On May 26, 2014, Ukrainian Su-25 supported Mi-24 helicopters during a military operation to regain control over the airport in Donetsk, during which the Su-25s fired air-to-ground rockets. On July 2, 2014, one Ukrainian Su-25 crashed due to a technical fault. On July 16, 2014, and Su-25 was shot down, with Ukrainian officials stating that a Russian MiG-29 shot it down using a R-27T missile. Russia denied these allegations. On July 23, 2014, 2 Su-25s were shot down in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. A spokesperson for the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine said the aircraft were shot down by missiles fired from Russia. On August 29, 2014, a Ukrainian Su-25 was shot down by pro-Russian rebels. The Ukrainian authorities said the downing was due to a Russian missile without clarifying if they mean Russian-made or fired by Russian forces. The pilot managed to eject safely. On the same day, pro-Russian rebels claimed the downing of up to 4 Su-25s. On February 9, 2015, the pro-Russian forces indirectly acknowledged, for the first time, with a reference to a Ukrainian media source, their use of Su-25 against Ukrainian forces during the fighting near Debaltsevo. On June 29, 2014, it was reported that Iraq claimed to have received the first batch of second-hand Su-25s ordered from Russia in order to fight the Islamic State forces. An Iraqi Defense Ministry source claimed the aircraft would be in service within 3 to 4 days, despite the fact that the Iraqis require technical help and parts to make them operational, and the fact that the Russian-made aircraft are incompatible with the Iraqi Air Force's inventory of American-made Hellfire missiles. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps Air Force delivered 7 Su-25s on July 1, 2014, the majority of which were ex-Iraqi aircraft from the Gulf War. They were quickly pushed into combat, performing air raids as early as the beginning of August 2014 and later expanding their area of operation. Iraqi Su-25s flew the bulk of the sorties against the Islamic State, with 35-62 missions between June 2014 and December 2017, by which time ISIS had lost control of all the territory it formerly controlled in Iraq. That compares to 514 sorties flown by the Iraqi fleet of F-16IQ fighters. In September 2015, it was reported that at least a dozen Su-25 were deployed by Russia to an airfield near Latakia, Syria, to support the Russian forces there who were taking part in the Syrian offensive against ISIL. On October 2, 2015, Russian Su-24M and Su-25 attack aircraft destroyed an ISIL command post in the Idlib province, while Su-34 and Su-25 aircraft eliminated an ISIL fortified bunker in the Hama province. By March 15, 2016, with the scaling down of Russian presence in Syria, Russian Su-25s had performed over 1,600 sorties in Syria while dropping 6,000 bombs. On February 3, 2018, a Russian Su-25 was shot down over Idlib by rebel fighters who used manpads. A Syrian militant said that the pilot, Roman Filipov, ejected safely but killed himself with a grenade to avoid capture. On September 29, 2020, Armenian Defense Ministry claimed that an Armenian Air Force Su-25 was shot down by a Turkish Air Force F-16, killing the pilot. However, Turkey denied the allegation. On October 4, 2020, an Azerbaijani Air Force Su-25 aircraft was shot down by Armenian forces, probably by a 9K-33 OSA while targeting Armenian positions in Fuzuli. The pilot, Colonel Zohar Nudaraliyev, died in the crash. Azerbaijani officials acknowledged the loss in December 2020, while disclosing a major role of manned aviation being hidden during the active phase of the conflict, with more than 600 airstrikes by manned aviation from September 27, 2020 to November 9, 2020, with the Su-25 fleet tasked with a critical role of suppression and destruction of the enemy air defense, among others. On February 24, 2022, Russia reported the loss of a Su-25 attack jet due to pilot error. As of March 4, 2022, at least 3 Su-25 attack jets appeared to have been lost in the conflict.